What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? We are back, and today we're actually talking about AKs again. Shocker, right? There's a lot of guys who are new to the AK platform right now, or just guys who've been around that just want to hear my thoughts on the differences between a lot of the common stocks that you can have for the AK. The three biggest ones being the solid stock, the underfolder, and the side folder. Now, if you're one of those modern warfare gunsmiths, you think the three are pretty darn interchangeable. Well, that's not the case. We're gonna jump into why. And helping out with my sanity during this episode, a viewer actually sent in this nifty Kydex White Claw holster. Flavor this week is Ruby Grapefruit. All right, so the samples that we're gonna be using this episode are an SLR 107 representing these side folders. So we have a solid polymer stock on the side folder, which is kind of cheating, which is why we also have the KP9 with the skeleton triangle folder representing triangle folder gang. Now on team underfolder, we have this Century imported 762 underfolder. Stock is a little stiff, and I've got that cool guy paracord on it, but it's still a nice little sample. Nice example of what you might see in a gun store shelf. And for solid stock, we have this beautiful AKG done in-house by our builder, Zach. Also gonna show you the pros and cons of each, and just general thoughts about it. But first, we wanted to thank our friends at Big Daddy Unlimited for making this video possible. Or really just making it worth our time. We could have done this either way. Do you like guns, gun accessories, ammo, NFA items? Of course you do, you're a viewer of the channel. Do you want them for fan-fucking-tastic prices? Why wouldn't you? Which is why you're going to go down to the link in the description and in the pinned comment and go check out Big Daddy Unlimited. The comment section has demanded that I have to tell you Big Daddy Unlimited is like the Costco of the gun world. BDU is a big help to channels like mine. They support a lot of the gun industry, so if you want to help them out and help us out, go ahead and click on that link and that will take you over to their site where you can sign up. So big thanks again to Big Daddy Unlimited. Let's go check out some AKs. All right, so the first category we're gonna go to is, well, folding ability. As you can see, the fixed stock has none. It's fixed. That's what that word means. So what we have here on the back is a rear trunnion tang, and what this does is it protrudes about yay far onto the back, or the front, I guess, of the stock, and is where the stock attaches. And unless you have something like a Magpul Zukov or a bunch of the other aftermarket stock adapters that allow this to fold, this thing ain't going anywhere. You'll also notice that the receiver is cut straight, and there is nothing here except a very nice logo. This is also what we would refer to as standard. This is a standard cut for a stock. So now it's time for our underfolder. You can see here, we also have a relatively straight cut back of the receiver. That kind of varies from model to model. As far as deploying the stock, I'm gonna be hitting this button here, pressing it in, pulling this down, folding it out, and boom, we now have the shoulder thing that goes up. We also have paracord on this side for chin weld. I didn't do that, I promise. To fold it back up, all we have to do is press this same button that is locking it in place, push this down, and it locks just the same. This one's a little stiff. There we go. So with foldability, we get a completely flush backside. I would say for a 16-inch barrel AK, this is pretty darn concealable. I can actually fit this into one of my Savior equipment bags that is meant for a lot shorter guns than I could fit a full rifle into. So for that sort of thing, it's really good for a lot of, you know, the stuff you've seen like end of watch or whatever, where people have this in cars or whatever, so you don't have a big stock. I guess that's kind of the purpose, what a lot of guys like this sort of stuff for. Plus, it just looks cool. There's something very classy about a traditional underfolder stock. As far as the folding, there are some disadvantages though, and I'm about to talk about that. So here's a traditional X-Tech magazine. It's a 30-round mag. Clears it no problem. I could deploy the stock. As long as I fold that open. I can also close the stock. So now I have a 40-round assault clip loaded in the gun. As you can see, this now poses a problem, as this will completely hook the stock. And if you're trying to fire this folded, you can no longer actually deploy a stock and have a stock on your weapon without having to first pull this out and then dropping your stock and putting it back in. In which case, you better not have to fold it, because that will not work. So if you're only using standard 30-round magazines, none of this is a problem for you. But if you want to use anything else, you're gonna have a bad time. This also includes drums. As you can see, there is a fundamental problem with the physics of this gun, as The two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. None of these things are a problem if you already have your stock deployed. So if you are already slaying bodies, fam, you're ready to rock and roll, you can change these magazines in and out with no problem. Drums, 40-round assault clips, use them all day to your heart's desire. Just don't think you're gonna be able to fold this thing up while you still have the magazine in the gun. So now we have the 107 FR, and this is where we have a difference in the receiver cut. As you can see, this one is cut at a slight angle where it tapers in at the bottom, and it's longer at the top. Same on the other side, it's actually cut in a little bit further to accommodate for this hinge where the side folder closes. You also have some cuts in the receiver here, this circular and flat at the back for the button, where the button pokes out. And on this side, you have a circular button that starts the fold. You also have a rectangular hole here where you install your latch and a corresponding hole at the bottom. I personally like these a lot, although some complaints I have heard is that if you're carrying it in like this, it could get hung up on your gear or whatever because it is folding on the left side, which is the side that is closest to your body. I've never had a problem with it, but that's because I'm not a soldier. I just mag dump into trash. As far as magazines, of course, it is not an issue with any magazines that fall below the gun. However, drums still present a slight problem. Close, but no cigar. All right, now it's time to talk about comfort, and we're back to the classic AKM. The wood stock is basically the baseline. It's pretty comfortable in the shoulder, nice surface area here, good cheek weld, feels very comfortable, especially for me. My muscle memory is pretty much just set up for an AK, so to me, it feels very natural. The loss of folding ability is made up for with very good just comfortable feel, and as well as a very solid base of which to vibe check your opponents. You also have a lot of aftermarket options, so pretty much anything made for the standard AK is going to be made for your standard Tang here. A lot of mag pull stuff, M4 stock adapters, if that's your thing. Even some com block wire folders like Tantal or a lot of the Romanian wire folders are made for the solid stock Tangs. They're actually interchangeable. You could get that side folding feature with this. Plus, they can look really pretty. Moving on to the underfolder. The feel, well, it's very wide. Basically, it feels like you have a horseshoe in your shoulder socket. That is because you pretty much do. Not necessarily the worst ever, but you do have to realize because of where the height of the stock is, you're not really going to be getting a cheek weld. If you did that, you'd be looking straight into the recoil, back of the recoil spring assembly. Really, at best, you're going to be getting kind of a chin weld, lower chin weld. Not the most uncomfortable thing in the world to shoot. However, you just kind of have to be prepared for what you're getting into when you commit to an underfolder. Kind of like a pit bull. Actually, I don't know why I just said that. Now the solid stock. Now on this SLR 107 FR, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm using the polymer stock here, and this is pretty much a lot of the same feel as if this were a solid stock. So you got some nice surface area here in the rear, pretty good cheek weld. Could be better, could be far worse, especially for a folder, but you still have full folding capability. So basically it's all the fun of a folding stock with all of the feel of a solid stock once you get it up into your shoulder. This usually isn't what most people think about when they think about a side folder though, so one sec. It's Vits time, bitch. So this is a typical triangle folding stock. This one is slightly modified because it is meant for the KP Kalashnikov USA replica of the Vichaz to be able to fit over that barrel pin there. That's kind of the way this latches since the receiver is slightly shorter than a typical crank or whatever side folder you'd have the latch there normally. This has always felt really sexy to me. Still, you get good surface area there in the back. You get, I mean, it's a little thinner than a standard stock, but it still feels good in the shoulder, and I can get, well, this one's a little bit higher because of the optic, but if I was getting down on the irons, still get a decent cheek weld. Also, these are just kind of aesthetic as fuck. This is probably the part of the video where you're going, Brandon, why are you getting so in-depth into all the pros and cons of each one of these stocks? Can't I just choose which one I want and then change it later? I mean, it's not like if I choose one, I'm stuck with it. Well, it's funny you say that. It is true that you can swap if you have like a fixed stock or something like that, and I wanted it to be a side folder, I wanted it to be an underfolder, something along those lines. I could make that happen, but it is a lot less like changing furniture, and it is a lot more like a sex change. This is what we would call our standard stamped receiver. This is where we would have 2 rivets here and then our stock tang sticking out here that is part of the rear trunnion. As you see, this is completely flush here. This receiver can be anything it wants to be when it grows up, full of hopes and dreams and hasn't even found out about taxes yet. Enter the underfolder. That's a lot of holes. So as you can see on this receiver here, we have our center hole. This is where the meat of the assembly goes in. Then we have our 2 side holes where, you know, that's where the locking happens. Have that on both sides. And once these are drilled, it's a lot harder to undrill them. That's why we measure twice and cut once. Or after 6 beers, just send it. But seriously, this is one of those things that can be done to standard stamped receivers. It is pretty damn intrusive, and it's gonna be a real motherfucker to undo. But at the same time, it's really just a bunch of holes on this side. This side is just a bunch of holes. On this side, you have these 2 little wings on the top and bottom. That's not true with the side folder. This is a receiver that's currently waiting to be demilled so we can build it up properly, but this one right here, you could at least see where it is, you know, cut on the side, right there, and then on this side, it's cut even further again for the hinge. And that is a good bit of milling work right there to cut this area for the button to protrude, and then on this side, of course, you have that hole, plus you have the 3 rivet holes on this side and 3 on this side as well. This shares practically nothing in common with a standard rear trunnion solid stock AK. On top of that, you also have to mill the slot up front. This nice square slot, that's super easy to cut. That's of course for your retainer there and your button there on the bottom for where that sticks through and attaches to the bottom of the trunnion. On top of all that shit, you also have to buy the appropriate trunnion, whether you're going underfolder or side folder. You have to buy the trunnion, the folding stock assembly, etc., etc. It's a pain in the ass. That's why a lot of times if people want it changed, we just really advise that, you know, you just buy a whole new receiver. You're basically gonna have to rebuild the gun anyway. You might as well just spend $70 on a receiver that's already cut for an underfolder or a side folder. It really makes things a whole lot easier. It really is that invasive. And if you're not good with a welder, it's basically fucking impossible. There are a couple ways you can kind of fudge it. Like there's an adapter, I believe, for the underfolders where you can have an M4 stock adapter for that, but you could still plainly see where it is actually an underfolder. I think that's what Pullinar Tactical has on his folder. So Brandon, which stock should I have on my AK? Well, the answer is corny as it is. I say all of them. If you're an AK fanatic like me, you should definitely have one solid stock AK, one underfolder, one side folder, just for the hell of it. Shit, you should probably have like 5 of each. AKs are kind of like Pringles in that way. You can never have just one. Except, if you throw Pringles at a home invader, you're going to get raped. But realistically, if you are trying to decide between the 3 stock options, that's funny, between your stock options on your AK, if you have a friend that has all 3 or one friend that has the one that you're looking for, definitely recommend trying it out, maybe going to the range with it, seeing if it's what you like, going to your local gun range if they still have anything in stock, trying it there. Really get a good feel for it if that's what you want to buy. Send it. But I'm just saying, they're all kind of dope. You should probably have all of them. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. I hope it maybe opened your eyes on a couple of things. Or if you're somebody who just knew all of this, I hope I was entertaining enough for you to make this worthwhile. Got some cool announcements for the channel as far as future content and whatnot. I'm really excited for that, so I hope you guys stick around for it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We do educational stuff like this occasionally. For the rest of you, I guess I will see you on Gun Meme Review coming end of this week. So, as always, I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks, guys.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
You are welcome for that audio. The trusty KP9, representing that triangle folder gang. Yeah, let me do that again. The KP9 with the triangle folding stock, representing that triangle folder gang. Fuck, let me do that again. Son of a bitch. Thank big boy at Big Daddy Unlimited for make video happen. Do you like guns, ammo, NFA items, gun accessories? Of course you do. Let me do that again. Do you like guns, ammo, and gun... Fuck. Slaps roof. That's not how that meme goes. Never mind. I forget I said that. Moving on to the under folder. Shit.